Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, speaker, 2-time Emmy Award winner, and entrepreneur. I'm a Jackie of all trades and a master of some. Each week, I bring on people from all walks of life to talk to them about their inspiring stories in the fields of self-development, relationships, business, and how you can love yourself even more. For more about me and the podcast, visit us at loveyouevenmore.com. Welcome, Stephanie Hamadto, to the Love You Even More podcast. Stephanie is a good friend of the podcast and, of course, mine. And she is a life coach. We are putting on an event at a retreat recently or soon. But today we are talking about, is everyone having a midlife crisis or is it just us? Turns out it's all of us. Everyone's having a midlife crisis. So we are going to talk about being in a midlife crisis, where it came from, what ages it's affecting, and how the hell we're supposed to do this. So welcome, Stephanie.
Hello, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good. It's just funny because, you mentioned midlife crisis and people nowadays are like, oh my God, that's exactly what's happening to me. That's exactly where I'm at. And it's everybody. It's not just like people of a certain age. It's really, you said this, like 35 to 45. Like that's not even midlife really.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like when we have talked about midlife crises in the past, like I always pictured that being like around 45 to 55.
Definitely.
But this is coming up over and over again with everybody around me right now. It feels like that are having these like big, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Where am I going? Is this who I want to be with for the rest of my life? Is this the career I want for the rest of my life? And I feel like because it's coming up so often with so many people around us, I'm like, we have to talk about this. Like this is a thing. And like, we're not alone and other people are not alone. And I think it's like, we need to address this.
No. And when we were talking about it, I think you are right. I think that this is something that can definitely happen to an age group. Of course, like, you get out of your 20s, you're now well into your 30s and your 40s, and you're like, wow, it's been 10 years, 20 years since I was in my 20s. That's so weird. Like, how did that happen? Who am I? And you do just start naturally questioning yourself, given your age and where you're at, whether you were married or you have kids or you don't, or you've been in the same career or you've switched careers a bunch. I mean, we're living such vastly different lives than our parents did, and especially our grandparents. So it's like every generation has their newness and their qualities about them, but not every generation has been put through so much turmoil with recessions and the pandemic. And what you were saying is that it feels like something happened around like 3 years ago, like after sort of lockdowns stopped and then people started getting back into like the workforce. And I mean, we see this economically too, that our economy is just around the world collapsing. And we're not trying to have a political conversation here, but it's like, it's just been really hard for people to get back on their feet. And with that, I think they're questioning, what am I doing? What should I be doing?
Yeah, 100%. I think like while we're going to an age where there's like some sort of developmental crisis, identity crisis, all of that, also the world seems to also be in crisis. So the two things just kind of feel like a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion. But you touched on, and like how I see it, at least from my perspective, is, your 20s, the world is your oyster and you have your whole life ahead of you and you're suddenly an adult and independent and you're exploring and you're having fun and you get to like experiment and try new lifestyles and wear different hats and meet different people. And there's this sense of like excitement and wonder and all of that with the newness of being like an actual adult, right?
Right.
And then you kind of get to your 30s and you're like, okay, now I am going to be responsible and I'm going to like lay the groundwork to build this life. And I'm going to be good and responsible and plan for the future and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get closer to 40 and you're like, wait a minute, aren't I supposed to be like further along than I am? Or it can also be this like identity thing of like all these things that I've built, all of the bricks that I've laid, like, do these even still work for me? Like the things that I chose at my late 20s, early 30s, is that really who I am?
Yeah.
Is that really going to fulfill me for the next 40 years of my life? And there's this like a lot of questioning of, you know, who am I? do the things that I've been doing still serve me moving forward? And I think I thought when I was younger, you know, when we get to 40, that's a tough thing because as women, especially, like we might feel like old and our bodies are changing and we look different and all that stuff. And certainly that's happening. Like I'm sure there are some people that feel more or less insecure with some of the things that are changing physically.
Right.
But what I didn't anticipate is it's more like how we're changing like emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
That has been so jarring because I think, you know, there is a sense of like body positivity and like less age judgment as there was when we were younger. But all of these like big identity things are throwing us for a loop that I don't know. I'm just seeing it reflected back to me over and over again from different people in my life.
Absolutely. I mean, all of the above. It's so confusing too, because I think our generation looks so much younger than our parents did. And sometimes of Gen Z, sorry, Gen Z, but sometimes we do look a little younger than you guys, but that's okay. You've been through a lot. So have we, but you know, we do. And that I know personally, that's something that has been hard for me. You would think, oh, you're so lucky. You look so young for your age. It's like, yeah, but then when people find out my actual age, they're like, whoa. And then they see you differently based upon a number. Like, had you not known my age, you would have just continued to treat me the same way. And I would have continued to act the same way. But, like, for instance, so I'm in a class with a bunch of like 20 somethings. And to me, I love them. I think they're so sweet and I love them. They're so intelligent and they work really, really hard. And we all work together. But the truth of the matter is, like, I could be their mother, a young mother, but I could be. So there is this like natural maternal part of me that comes out. And it also feels uncomfortable at times when I'm like, oh, why am I at a bar with a bunch of 25-year-olds and I am absolutely not even close to 25? And it's confusing with that, with the like, I look a certain way, but I actually am a certain age with all of this other experience. Can I live in both worlds?
Right.
You're like, yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah, 100%. I'm sure that can be, and I think that's like touching on the idea that maybe your fantasy when you're younger is by the time we get to this stage of life, we somehow don't have the insecurity or the fear or the stress or whatever that like we maybe had when we were younger. Mm-hmm. And now we're at this age where we're like, oh my gosh, like we still sometimes feel insecure and we still sometimes feel afraid for the future and things like that. I think, the fantasy is that you get to this point and then you've arrived, right? Like you've built your life and now you can just sit back and like settle into it and everything is easy breezy. And I think maybe part of the panic or the crisis is coming from, I have been an adult now for 20 years and still sometimes feel messy, still sometimes feel like I don't have it figured out. Yeah. And, the foundation isn't fully, locked in or whatever. And so there can be a lot of self-judgment and, comparison. I think that's another big thing. Like you're talking about comparing yourself almost to like the 25-year-olds that you're at the bar with, but there can also be comparison to our peers that we're like, oh, everyone else seems to have figured it out or seems to just like be easy breezy. And I don't think it's true. I think what we see on social media, I think what people put out publicly is not the whole picture. And when you get into the nitty gritty talking one-on-one with everybody
Everybody,
realize, oh my
everybody.
gosh, like maybe not everybody, but like so many people are experiencing this right now, you
Yeah.
know?
I think you're right. I think it's the comparison that's really like the devil in this situation here is thinking that yes, you should be somewhere and maybe you're not. Also, I was thinking about people who did get to where they wanted to go, like they did everything right, quote, right. And they got there. They got the marriage, the kids, the house, the career. They did all of it and they're like, I think I'm going to blow it all up. You know?
Mm,
I think
yeah.
I'm just going to blow it all up because, we as humans are so goal oriented. We want to like get somewhere. And then once we get there, we're like, cool, we did it. Now what? Let's do something else. And I don't think, especially in this day and age, that we can sit and just be still in what we've accomplished. So, thus, we're like, well, what's next? And also, I think that's incredible because we should always be learning and growing and evolving. But, like, where is the happy medium of cool, like I did what I wanted to do for those people who did. Can I just be at peace with what it is and then also be learning without blowing my life up? And then for the rest of us who are like, maybe on the other side, we're like, either we don't acknowledge our own accomplishments, for my perfectionists out there, or we just know we haven't accomplished what we needed to yet. The shame that we feel and the inadequacy that we feel, how can we just like have grace for ourselves that like yeah, we've had some pretty hard hits as a generation. I mean, like I mentioned, like economically it's been rough, it's been really rough. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I would find myself almost in that category of what you're speaking to. You know, I used to own a business, I've bought and sold houses. I was married for 10 years, had two children, still have them. Um,
They're still here.
and yeah, they're still here. And then I found myself in a place of closing the business, selling the house, getting a divorce.
Hmm.
And suddenly you're in your late 30s, starting all over, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like one of these things that we are, you know, living longer and having 2 and 3 careers in our lifetime. And so it can feel really like scary and hard to be starting over around 40 years old. Because again, maybe we have this fantasy that everything's locked into place and like super solid by 40. And, you know, so many people are having their second career changes and, you know, maybe like relocating or finding themselves going through a divorce or so on and so forth. So it can be really hard on us to feel like a beginner again, like to feel like we are just starting over. And then the other thing that like we haven't quite touched on yet is like the elephant in the room, like also hormones are changing and like that's so under talked about. You know, I wouldn't say any of us are like necessarily quite menopausal,
Oh
but
God.
but our bodies are starting to have major hormonal changes. So I don't know about you, but like I'm finding myself sometimes back in some of the hormonal mood swings that I had as a teenager. And I'm like, holy cow, like I am feeling really different on different days.
Yeah.
And then having to sort of mentally remind myself like feelings are not facts, as we
Every
know.
day. Every day.
And to like realize that, you know, these hormonal changes are affecting my mood. Sometimes they're affecting my body. You know, there's all these things kind of happening. And it can, again, it can be an area that like we get hard on ourselves for not like feeling great all the time or not like, you know, whatever, just feeling super solid 24/7. And then the less we talk about it, because like maybe you feel your own shame or your own judgment, so we don't talk about it, then the other people in our peer group are feeling almost alone in it. Like, oh, I must be the only one still feeling like this way, you know?
I think that is so important. The hormone conversation, I feel like needs to be its own podcast. So I want to like definitely keep that, put a pin in that one because like not that we can't talk about it, but that should be a podcast. But also just like when no one talks about it, when nobody's admitting it. And I feel I just did a podcast on this. When people are kind of gatekeeping what's actually happening to them, everyone feels less secure about themselves. They feel more alone, just like what you said. And we really need to be like helping each other understand, like, you're not alone. I'm feeling this way too. Like, I feel in the case of midlife crisis, I feel inadequate too. I also don't know what I'm doing. I am scared to death. Like, what the hell is going to happen next? And it's just kind of like, mixed with a hormone, situation with like perimenopause, I would imagine is like, kind of creeping up. And again, like I'm not the aficionado on any of this stuff, so I'm really not going to speak too much on it because I really don't know. Um, it's just it is kind of terrifying to be like mentally I don't trust myself now bodily I'm like it's a lot to carry and if nobody's talking about it like what you said how are people going to figure it out or they're just going to like be like I'm just crazy I guess I'm just crazy now.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I also think there's like something that happens. I know you and I talked about this the other day. Like younger people can feel like they have figured it all out, like they can come at life with this attitude of like black and white thinking, right and wrong. I have the answer. I know the way. And, it's kind of like nice because they don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And that's why I think the shift does happen sometime between 35 and 45 as you start to hit a different developmental stage where you start to really fully embrace and understand all the shades of gray.
Right.
And you start to see the complexity of life, of relationships, of love, of joy, of fulfillment, and all these things that what used to seem like a linear, straightforward, ABC, XYZ answer is now way more complicated and fluid and moving and shifting all the time. And, on one hand, that leaves us open to like much more enriching, beautiful experiences because we are more open to them and we are willing to kind of broaden the horizons on what is for us. Right. And on the other hand, it's really scary because there doesn't seem to be a clear rule book of like what exactly we need to be doing. And so, there's like some excitement in there and there's some anxiety in there and, it's just a lot. And that's why I think we call it midlife crisis it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a lot to be processing and going through as you're navigating this like new phase,
Absolutely. I think the rule book thing is really powerful because I like direction. I like rules. I like to know what to do. That's why I love school so much. I'm like, I study hard and then I get A's. And it's very like rewarding. But when you don't have a rule book and things are so different than they used to be, sometimes I really think about like our grandmothers, who like grew up as like these 50s housewives. I mean, actually, my grandmother's both worked, but regardless, like had that kind of 50s, like take care of your man and the house and your kids and the whole thing. And it's like, it seemed a little bit simpler then. And now it's so incredibly different. Families look so incredibly different. Work situations, roles in relationships are so different that there is really no rule book. And on some levels, that's wonderful. But on others, we do, I think, feel very lost, is what you're trying to say too, is that we just don't know what's how to do it anymore. And I know personally, like that's why I do like to look up to somebody, or I like to have mentors, or I like to have some kind of like, well, this is good. I like that. I'm going to follow that. It's not that I'm trying to like follow. It's that at least it gives me an idea of how to sort of get there. And now we all have our different lives. We're not at all the same. So our journeys are always different, no matter who you're trying to emulate. But more so, it's like, if we just let go of the idea that there has to be a rule book. And then we try to trust our decisions and the ones that we're making every day. And if something works out, great. And if it doesn't work out, there's a reason and it's okay. But like, what if every single choice we made was the right choice, no matter how it turned out? And what kind of trust might you feel for yourself if that was how you went about your life? Is every choice I make is the right one? No matter what I learn 6 months from now or 3 years from now or looking back, like we just went forth in these very messy, weird lives that we're now creating that look nothing like anything before. And we're just like, okay, this is okay. This can be right. I don't know. That
Yeah.
sounds really scary, but also very freeing.
Yes. No, I think like the being able to trust yourself is the hardest part for a lot of us and the most powerful element if you can click that in. I almost look at it as like a crossroads between doubling down on the life you laid out for yourself with your limited perspective in your 20s
Yeah.
and just deciding, well, I already went this far in this direction, so I'm just going to keep going, and that's fine.
Right.
Or venturing out and exploring. And then you really do have to lean into the trust in yourself that you'll figure it out because there might not be a rule book. There might not be a roadmap. You've got to make your own way. And that is like very scary. But I think to your point, if you're able to, as you go, remind yourself that like you are strong, wise, and capable. And whatever challenges come up, you have the tools in order to be able to work through them and to get to a good place with everything. I think it's great to have inspiration, like you said, having like mentors and leaders that you look up to, or role models, like are great to have, as long as you are leaning into your own inner wisdom as like the biggest authority in moving forward every step of the way. I think, the other thing is like when we're younger, we can seek a lot of external validation and we can seek answers from other people and pats on the back, letting us know that we're on the right track and we're doing the right thing and so on and so forth. And now, like in this phase of life, I think it's so much more important to be our own pat on the back and to say like, yes, you got this. You're going the right way. I have your back no matter what. You're going to be okay. It's always working out in your favor. Bad days are going to happen. Setbacks are going to happen, but that's not going to completely derail you from where you're going,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree.
The other thing I was going to touch on, and I don't know for sure, but I just got back from a trip from Spain and I noticed this, like what feels like a very different culture. Every time I've been to Europe, there seems to be like a less of a drive on or less value put on, workaholic and success and drive and keeping up with the Joneses and so on and so forth. And so I'm wondering if it's also like a little bit of a cultural thing. Like here in the States, we put so much weight on status and being cool and having money and like financial success. And so, yes, it's sort of like your identity is your business or career success and how much money you have in the bank and how many houses you own and so on and so forth. And the vibe you get when you're overseas is so much less about that. And it's so much more, like a slower pace and like more about like relationships and love and joy and celebration and yummy food and all this stuff. And, I'm reminded that we live in a very individualistic society. And that can be very lonely, because it's like every man for themselves sometimes. And there's not as much of a sense of like community and collaboration. Like we can seek out to create that for ourselves in our own life. But if you don't intentionally create that for yourself, it's sort of like everyone's very disconnected. Right. So just some food for thought that like, I think it's like within our culture, that may be some of the pressure that we are putting on ourselves as we get to this stage of life to feel like we're comparing and we should be somewhere that we're not or whatever.
Absolutely. I actually think about parts of that a lot, which is what if I love the whole soft girl era situation that's been happening for a couple of years now. I'm like, ooh, soft girl era. I just want to be my soft girl era. But really beyond the soft girl era is more like, what if I just didn't have to be as successful as I've always imagined myself to be? What would happen? Would I be happier? Would I feel less stress? Would I feel less pressure? Would I be happy, truly happy? Because I am such a motivated person. But what if I really took that off and was like, just going to let it be what it's going to be. And to be honest, that's sort of where I've been living recently. Like as I kind of unwind the like workaholism, that's where it's kind of going to. And it's really strange because you're right. Northern America is so focused on being individualistic. We do not collaborate. We are all about materialism and money and status. I mean, you hit it so well. And that is impossible because not all of us can be millionaires, period. I'm sorry. We just can't. That's just not in the cards for everyone. And well, this is really becoming super political, but it's like, it's just an impossible feat. And if you don't hit that place, are you a failure? No, you're not. So, like, bringing up Spain, I think is such a perfect example of Europe is just better, by the way. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, I don't know why I don't live there. I love it there. But, like, it is different. You are appreciated for just being human, just for you. You just showed up and, like, people are like, cool, it's you, like, for you. And it is a different kind of relaxation of our brains to go somewhere new and see a different culture and be like, oh, it doesn't always have to be this rat race. And when we're coming into like a midlife crisis or an even earlier midlife crisis with everything we've been through in the States, like, giving ourselves a second to just be like, you know what, I really don't know right now. So I'm just going to like relax and I'm just going to let my life tell me kind of what feels good and what doesn't feel good with my career, with my relationship. I don't need to be rash and blow it all up or, like go back to school immediately. Although if you do want to go to school, guys, you should go to school. I'm a big advocate of school. But like, you know what I mean? Like you can't just make these rash decisions, but I don't know. I'm sort of on a tangent here. So feel free to stop me.
I know. I get what you're saying. Like none of these choices in and of themselves are wrong, but make sure that you're making these choices from a place of inner wisdom and guidance versus scarcity and fear.
That's right.
So yeah. So like if you're finding yourself in a place of like, I don't know which way is up and I don't know what to do next, don't necessarily make a big decision. Like take a pause and breathe, maybe do some meditation, go to therapy. I mean, I don't think we even mentioned that enough. Like I have seen a therapist for years and years. And sometimes I want, like when people say something about like they don't have a therapist, I'm like, I don't even know how adults get through their lives without therapy. Like I love therapy that much. I think everybody can benefit from therapy, but like, especially as you're finding yourself in very confusing, complicated, phases of life and, big decisions to make and, big choices and changes, like therapy is so helpful because you can you're processing with someone who can help you see blind spots that you might not see. But essentially, if you don't know what action to take no action until you have clarity.
Right.
We want to come from a place of making choices from a place of empowerment and like, excitement and creativity and joy and love. You want to lean into like action of love versus action of fear. Like I'm afraid, so I'm just going to go do this, and usually those decisions don't turn out so well when you're coming at it from a place of fear. So yeah, a couple of things I would say is just to like be patient with yourself, take care of yourself, talk to yourself kindly. I think we can be so hard on ourselves when we look in the mirror or if we make a mistake and things like that. And it's not helpful. You're never going to shame yourself to a better place. You're never going to punish yourself to a better version. Like you have to have grace for yourself as you're navigating these really hard things. So anyways, like cut yourself some slack, number one. Number two, take good care of yourself. Like I said, there's hormonal things happening. We are getting older, so on and so forth. So get good sleep at night. Move your body. You don't have to join like a boot camp, but if you can like just like walk or do yoga or swim or something that feels really good to you, it's just gonna help balance the hormones in your body and also help with like stress processing and things like that.
Yeah.
Eat well. It's just another way that we tell ourselves that we love ourselves when we care enough to put like good ingredients in your body. I'm not saying to follow any sort of specific diet, but would you put, junky oil into your car, like dirty, nasty, like, you know, whatever. No, you would put decent oil in your car so that it can run for longer, right?
Yeah.
So just like another way you can take care of yourself through all these like big transitions and crises. So eat well, move your body, get good sleep, maybe see a therapist.
Be a therapist, guys.
Yeah, be a therapist. Join any like self-care and things that just like fill your cup, like just take it easy. And I think if you really, really take care of yourself in all those ways and give yourself some time to pause and relax and not be in like panic mode, like the right answers will come to you. They're not going to come to you while you're like activated and stressed and all of that stuff. So you got to like get your nervous system on track so that you can navigate the best possible way moving forward.
Absolutely. You guys, it's okay to have a midlife crisis. It's okay if you're in one. It's all right. You're really not alone. And that's the whole moral of today's story. I loved all of your advice. Stephanie, tell people how they can find you.
You can look me up at elevatemypersonalpower.com. And Jackie and I collaborate a lot. We're having a great retreat coming up, and we both offer coaching services. I do a lot of group coaching. I think Jackie focuses more on individual coaching, one-on-one, and obviously podcast and all the wonderful things she's doing. I really just hope that everyone listening to this like knows like you're not alone. Like we are all going through it. I'm here for you. Jackie's here for you. And I'm glad we got to have this conversation today.
Me too. Let's have many other conversations with little tangents of this, because I think there are quite a few to have. So thank you, Stephanie. And I'll see you soon, girl.
Okay, see you soon. Thanks, Jackie. Have a good one.